You believe that falling in love should be straightforward. You find someone, you fall in love with them, they fall in love with you, and you both enjoy each other's company. However, that isn't always how life is. Love comes in all different forms, and occasionally we end ourselves falling for people who aren't the proper fit for us. Sometimes, the individuals we think we love the most cause us harm or cause us harm. The reasons we damage the people we care about can be complex, yet in the wrong relationship, those people can sometimes not be saved. What transpires then if you are the one who is harmed in a relationship? What should you do if you know the person you're in love with is bad for you but you just can't seem to get over it? You'd imagine it would be simple to let them go and find someone else if they weren't the right person for you. Unfortunately, love isn't like that. The first step in ending the relationship is realizing what is holding you there. Keep watching to learn some of the most typical reasons why you might find it difficult to stop loving someone who is causing you pain, as well as what you can do about it. Number 1. You're scared you won't find anyone else. Being in a miserable relationship is not preferable than being single. You should truly consider why letting go is so difficult and what it is about being alone that terrifies you so much if you keep returning to someone who is awful for you despite knowing it. You may be afraid of being alone, but in a bad relationship, being ignored or gaslighted by your partner can make you feel lonely just as much. You could be concerned that you won't have somebody with whom to do things like take trips. However, it's also possible that your spouse will disappoint you nonetheless, leaving you feeling disillusioned and failing to live up to your expectations. Keep in mind that being single can be a blessing. It's a chance to get to know yourself better and comprehend who you are as a person without the influence of anyone else, if you seize it. It's an opportunity to boost your self-esteem and invest positively in yourself all the energy you would have spent fretting about a bad relationship. You are not constrained by what others want to do and can spend time with friends and family. You can always meet someone better for you if you're single, so it's not the end of the world. However, continuing a bad relationship could last a lifetime. It's better to achieve happiness on your own, even if it seems dangerous at first, than to remain with someone you love but who causes you pain. Number 2. You can't seem to move on. Heartbreak might feel insurmountable and consume you completely. Even when you know they aren't good for you, it can be quite difficult to let go of someone. You might keep returning to your ex as a result of this. You find it impossible to stop thinking about your ex despite your best efforts to move on. Even if they damaged you, you can't stop remembering the few times you did have together that were enjoyable. You can't let them leave for good, you miss them too much. But as cliché as it may sound, time does indeed improve things. The sentiments you are experiencing right now will fade into memory with enough time and effort, and you will be able to make room in your heart for someone else. Because you are so accustomed to having someone in your life, you find it difficult to move on. However, if you give your new reality some time, you will start to discover how much better life may be. You must be severe about minimizing any form of contact with your ex if you can't seem to stop loving them but you know you need to move on. Don't text or phone them. Stop following them on social media, and try to limit your contact with them for a few months. You'll gradually be able to realize that they weren't the perfect person for you after all if you focus on reinvesting energy in your self-healing. Number 3. You lack self-confidence. One of the problems of being with a partner that is unhealthy for you is that every time they let you down or hurt you, they undermine your self-confidence and increase your dependence on them. It's a method employed in toxic relationships to give the controlling partner more power, which demoralizes you to the point where you start to doubt that anyone else could ever love you. Regaining your self-confidence will enable you to realize that you are deserving of much more. Instead of trying to change you into someone you're not, you deserve someone who uplifts, inspires, and brings out the best in you. You can start by devoting more time and effort to surrounding yourself with positive individuals, such as family and friends, in order to help yourself. Join groups of like-minded individuals to engage in activities and forge new, fruitful relationships. Lastly, consider seeking counseling. You might require assistance to reminding yourself of what you have to give the world after being in a toxic relationship. You can learn to embrace and let out your genuine self while preserving your inner spark by working through all the difficulties you are going through with the assistance of a therapist. Number 4. You keep hoping they'll change. Do you find yourself defending your lover all the time? Believing that the relationship would be ideal if they would simply behave differently? You keep going back to your ex because you think things will be different this time. Perhaps they even promise to do better, to pay attention to your needs, and to stop hurting you the way they did before. You can give someone another chance to make amends, but if they continue to act in cruel ways, you'll have to accept that they will never change to become the person you want them to be. It's time to accept the truth of the circumstance if this describes you. Consider the last time your partner made an effort to improve things for you and kept their word. Think about how much time you actually spend enjoying your relationship on a daily basis versus how much time you spend feeling dissatisfied. Keep in mind that you deserve better than to sit around and hope your partner changes. If you can simply have the courage to let go of the person who consistently fails you, you can go out there and find your ideal companion. Number 5. They've manipulated you. Simply put, they've been manipulating you, which is why you could find it so difficult to let go of someone who still causes you pain in a relationship. Your treatment by them has left you perplexed and unsure of yourself, whether it was because they gaslight you, told you that you were insane for believing what you do, or played with your emotions by being hot and cold with you at different times. You are now at the mercy of their mood, uncertain of their reaction, and worn out as a result of their ongoing abuse and manipulation of your emotions. If this keeps happening, you'll begin to believe them when they say that you're not deserving of anything better and that you couldn't possibly find anyone else who would love you. Whatever the circumstances of your relationship, it is unhealthy if you are frequently disappointed and hurt by someone. Whatever they've convinced you of, realize that you are worth so much more than this. You shouldn't be holding out for a few nice moments amidst so many horrible ones. Even though you could believe you love them, true love doesn't behave this way towards its recipient. They respect you and avoid making fun of your feelings. To try to move past them in this circumstance, it is important to put as much distance between you and them as you can. You must take some time out to unwind. This will assist you in avoiding their harsh and deceptive tactics. You may feel like you'll never get better, but all you need is a quiet, stable environment, and before long, you'll be able to verify that everything they've been leading you to believe is untrue. Number 6. You won't admit how much they've hurt you. If you're not prepared to acknowledge how harmful your relationship is to yourself, you won't be able to leave it. You'll keep returning to this person who hurts you if you don't be honest with yourself about how miserable you truly are because you're deluding yourself into thinking it's not that bad. Any circumstance in which the person you love injures you is undesirable. They should be the person who looks out for you, protects you, and prioritizes your happiness over all else. You shouldn't constantly feel wounded and disappointed by them if they truly love you. Because you aren't ready to be completely honest with yourself and acknowledge that you shouldn't be together, you attempt to explain why love may be so painful. However, if you don't acknowledge that there is a problem that cannot be solved, you won't allow yourself the opportunity to find something better. Be honest with yourself about how it actually felt when you were hurt by them most recently. Don't offer justifications for the times you felt that way in this relationship. Try to pinpoint each instance. This emotional confirmation clarifies your experiences and reveals the true nature of your connection to this person. Consider why you aren't expecting more from your relationship for your personal satisfaction and how the bad outweighs the good. Number 7. The good times feel special. Because you're so miserable the rest of the time, the wonderful times in your relationship feel that much better. Even though they continue to cause you pain, it feels wonderful when your relationship is going well. But that's only because you're hurt and depressed the rest of the time. If it were compared to feeling dreadful, anything would feel wonderful. You may get insanely thrilled at the slightest sign of kindness from your lover, but that's only because you've endured so much suffering to get there. You shouldn't make the most of a relationship's few happy times. Happiness ought to be a constant state, not a luxury you only experience occasionally when you're feeling particularly miserable. Don't exploit the good moments to excuse the bad or delude yourself into thinking your partner might change because of them. If you were to stick with them, this pattern is probably going to continue as long as there are more ups than downs. You must set higher standards for yourself if you want to make an effort to move on. Accept that, despite how fantastic the highs may feel, they only feel that way because the lows are so low and that this isn't a normal or healthy way to live. Number 8. You're addicted to the drama of your relationship. You grow acclimated to the concept that your love life needs to be fueled by drama when you're in a turbulent relationship. If you continue to be injured in a relationship, your life will eventually become consumed by the emotional roller coaster you're now experiencing. Making up with someone just to have them hurt you again might overwhelm your emotions and consume all of your attention. The issue with such a passionate romance is that any regular, healthy relationship would seem so uninteresting in comparison. It could be challenging to shift from such an emotional setting to one that is stable. Arguments' addictive highs and the ecstasy of reconciling after a quarrel have replaced the normalcy of a peaceful, harmonious partnership. If you're finding it difficult to accept the idea of a normal relationship, you should start by asking yourself what you want in a partner. Learn to recognize that the intensity of your connection, not the intensity of your emotions, indicates whether or not it is toxic. You should hold higher standards for yourself. You can learn to enjoy a more loving relationship where steadiness is a good indicator rather than dull by working with a therapist. Number 9. You've never seen a healthy relationship. It's possible that you're sticking with someone who continues to give you pain because you've never experienced a healthy relationship. The relationship you're in may not be perfect for you, but every relationship you've ever been in has its problems, so why should this one be any different? You won't know what the typical boundaries in your relationship should be if you didn't grow up in a stable home or didn't have a role model who you could look up to who was in a happy, healthy relationship. If you grew up in a toxic environment, you could have come to practically accept the behavior you put up with now because it appears like everyone else experiences the same things. Because you don't realize that other types of relationships for people like you actually exist, you won't have the courage to demand more from your spouse. You don't need to fall into the same pattern as the individuals you grew up with. Try to track down a real-life couple that respects and loves one another so that you can observe how they deal with their problems. If others close to you are unable to offer you advice, try educating yourself with applicable relationship advice from professionals. You don't have to accept something just because you've always done it. Don't be afraid to break the rules in order to pursue the fairy tale because you deserve it. Number 10. You don't know what real love is. When you don't know the distinction between love, obsession, or infatuation, they might all feel quite similar. You should question whether it's actually love if the person you're with keeps hurting you. You can feel reliant on them because they are the only companion you have ever known, or because you are afraid of being alone. It can even be that you always believed they were looking out for you since they have financial control over you. Perhaps their aggressive behavior towards you has imprisoned you because they are too controlling to ever let you entirely leave their lives. None of these situations portray a romantic partnership. Finding someone you wish to inspire to achieve their best is what love is all about. It involves making the decision to prioritize the needs of others over your own, since their happiness comes before yours. You take this action because you are aware that they share your sentiments and that working together will bring out the best in everyone. Being in love shouldn't involve extreme emotional highs and lows. Instead, there should be a sense of stability and contentment brought on by the knowledge that your spouse is always there for you and has your back. You enjoy spending every day with them, so you don't wait for the fun times to start. Perhaps you haven't found love yet if you haven't been in a relationship that sounds like this one or similar to the one you're in right now. Love shouldn't be painful or difficult for you to experience. It's intended to enrich your life, not make it more difficult. Examine your connection closely and consider whether it is based on reliance or infatuation rather than true love. If you just let yourself define them, the proper individual can demonstrate what true love is to you. Give yourself the chance to find the finest rather than settling for less. You are the only one standing between you and ending your relationship with someone who is harming you. You don't really want to let them go, so you can't. Does your ego suggest that you can change them into a better person with enough time and effort? Are they the ideal match you had in mind for yourself, or are you only afraid of being alone without a companion to provide security? The only thing you are doing when you hold on to something you know isn't appropriate for you is preventing yourself from experiencing actual happiness. Finding true love with someone else or rediscovering self-love and confidence to live life how you want to are both possible outcomes. You believe that this connection is valuable to keep since it is what you now know, but if you don't give it a chance, you won't know what the future brings. You know in your heart that this relationship isn't the right one for you and that you're hurting. You simply need to have the courage to expect more of yourself and take the first steps towards the genuine happiness you know you deserve. If you liked this video, please hit like and subscribe for Life Issues channel, a channel for all social issues that you may face every day. Thanks for watching.